exist. So whether the board feels that this is a major issue or not, it's up to you. It's just not appropriate to the house any more than introducing any other architectural detail that would be authentic. I know it's charming. It doesn't seem like it's such a big deal, but when you begin to add these sort of pseudo historic elements to a listed building in the village, to me, it's just not.
What if this fixture was electric?
Yeah,
it wouldn't matter whether it's flickering to look like it's gas or whether it's electrified. I mean, to me, I guess the bigger issue is it's attempting to simulate something that looks historic. If it were simply a glass ball that was sticking there out front of the door to light the path, because we like to have our entrances lit, it wouldn't be trying to look old. This falls into that earlying up category, and it's not authentic, so it's trying to look like it's always been there.
Anthony, just for the obvious reasons, just for the record, why do you need this lamp on this house?
it's code. I mean, you need some kind of light next to the door.
No, you
It doesn't
don't.
obviously have to be gas, but we need something.
What code in the village says that everybody has to install lights at their doorways?
I mean, that's a basic code. Any egress door from a structure, not just your front door, you need to have a light there. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be a sconce. It could be an overhead light.
Excuse me, that may pertain to new construction, but you can't say that everyone in the village needs to retrofit their houses with lights at the front door.
I mean, Zach, I have never encountered this being an issue before. I mean, gas, yeah, sure, but not being able to have a light.
Okay, that's all I can say.
Okay, so let's run through the board. Mr. Adams, how do you feel about this lamp?
I think Zach is correct, but it could be an electrical light that flickers, and it's not going to be any less foot candles than if it was gas.
So if you're okay with that, it's a moot point if it's electric flickering or if it's the real thing, gas flickering.
It should be electric.
Mrs. Dearman, questions?
No, I have no question. I don't have any questions, and I understand what Zach is saying, but honestly, I don't have a problem with it being gas.
Judith?
I am totally in Zach's frame of mind. To me, it's since there would not have been a gas lamp on this house when it was built, why are we putting a gas lamp on it now that it's 2021? To me, it sets a bad precedent for people running around putting little, quote, historic touches on their houses that are actually not historic. To me, it's a little bit of the Disneyfication of Sag Harbor. And I think we need to be very careful about allowing gas lamps in general.
Steve?
There are a few houses where I think it might be appropriate, very few.
Steve?
Yeah, I think Judith said it very well. I'm more concerned about precedent than any other thing and the creep. So personally, it's okay with me, but Zach and the concern about precedent would let me say that they should find a different alternative.
Val?
Well, I'll say this. There is precedent for these. There are some houses with this type of fixture, but it is a code requirement. But I think to Zach's point, you can't retrofit every single house with a new front, lamp if it doesn't have one. And I defer to the historian. We have a paid consultant to the board, and I respect what he's saying. I think that, that's a key thing in terms of historic preservation. We don't have Zach here for no purpose. So I'm going to defer to what he says.
Okay, so Anthony, I'm ready to go for a vote on this. Do you have anything else to say?
Well, I mean, we need a light here. So, I mean, I've been directed by the homeowner that if, you don't want to do the gas lantern, we both understand that, that's fine. But, we would be happy with doing the same shape, same size light in just a ordinary electric. And I would also remind the board that there are already 2 electric fixtures of basically the same, they're a little outdated, but the same size on the house presently. So we're taking off one of those and would be replacing it with this.
Okay, so I'm ready to go to a vote. If it's gas or electric, we're going to get the same effect. The historian has stated his case for why it shouldn't be there, but I'm ready to go for a vote. So,
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
yes, please.
So if it's electric, it doesn't have to be flickering. I mean, it's are we,
It's the
is that what we're
fixture
saying? It's
No,
going
the
to be a flick.
No, the
Yeah.
fixture is the issue. The fixture itself is a bone of
The
contention.
fixture itself is the shape and the size that it is, and it will be electric. Is that correct?
Anthony,
That's fine with us, yeah.
Oh, okay, so we're voting on allowing the light, but that it is electric and
It's
not.
electric. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's an electric fixture,
Okay,
not gas.
That's fine with me.
okay, do I have a motion to approve 47 Howard Street using electric in this?
I will make that
Picture.
motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
So electric, okay.
14 Hillside Drive, I'll second call 128 Germain.
She's
128 Germain?
Hi there. Good afternoon, good evening. I think we only had 2 outstanding items from our last meeting, one of which was the windows. I've made the decision and I confirmed with my contractor that we will not be replacing the windows. We will be keeping the historical windows the way they are. We do intend to repaint, restore the original windows and insulate any gaps, but I agree with you. I took a look at the Anderson windows at the house next door and I actually love my historical windows, so we're planning to keep the windows the way they are.
And the front door as well?
Yeah, the front door was never going to be replaced. We were going to keep the front door.
Zach, can you brief us on your site visit and your report?
Yeah, well, I did drive by the house today and I saw large, oh, there's a dog in the background.
Not mine.
Somebody has a dog. A large pile of dirt next to the house. I was kind of surprised and I stopped and I saw that half of the foundation has been removed. I think there was a discussion at perhaps the last meeting or the one before. On tonight's agenda, I don't see foundation listed.
Excuse me, let's just stick with what she's got here on this agenda.
Okay.
The shingles, the roof, the windows, the trim and the door. The door is staying, she's keeping the windows.
Right.
The roof and the shingles, the last meeting, we discussed the shingles. She was going to take off some of the asbestos and we were going to take a look at the
Correct.
status of that. So we need a site meeting for that.
Fine.
And
That-
the roof, we're in the same as the roof, right? We have to go and take a
Yeah,
look.
we're not changing the roof. Yeah, so yes, absolutely. So that's what's on the agenda. And I did do what was requested of me, which we peeled off the shingles. And had I known that you were there, because I was there today too. What's underneath there is shingles, cedar shingles. It appears to be cedar shingles on all different angles. There was a fire. Don't know when the fire was that burned through the entire interior of the house, probably way back when. And somebody had put plywood all over the house and then put the asbestos shingles over the plywood. So what was mainly underneath the existing asbestos shingles is plywood. So
Okay, let me just go back to Zach. Zach, did you look at that, the shingles and underneath that?
No,
Okay.
I did not. This was not a scheduled meeting. I was simply driving up the street.
Okay,
I-
Zach,
yes.
Zach, we got that.
So
Let me continue. So
Please, yes.
what I'd like to do is, applicant, I'd like to set up a meeting to review the outstanding issues. That would be looking at the roof and looking at the shingles. You said you're not replacing the roof, that's great, but we'd like to see what's underneath the asphalt, the asbestos shingles and take a look at that.
Correct.
And then I guess code enforcement's gonna check out what happened to the basement, and that's a whole separate issue that's not under discussion for tonight. So if you could set up a meeting through Carrie for us to go out with our consultant and check out the conditions of the shingles and the siding, that would be the way forward.
Great. And then on the foundation, I am keeping the foundation exactly the way it is. I don't want to change it. It's got a beautiful brick exterior. But we did speak in the last meeting that the foundation was not safe. So we are putting cement in the foundation to strengthen it, and that's the interior. But we're not changing the exterior of the foundation. We're keeping the brick
Well,
facade and everything.
code
as is.
enforcement's gonna take a look at that because that's not what we recalled. We recall that the brick was going to stay and you're gonna reinforce from the inside.
Correct.
And so this is a code enforcement issue and we'll take it from there.
Okay. So I will work with Carrie, so you're okay with the windows right now? And the only thing outstanding, just so I'm clear, is looking at the shingles underneath the asbestos currently. The roof, we're keeping the asbestos the way it is. We just have to repair it, obviously, and insulate it, etc. And that's the only thing that's outstanding. And then obviously the foundation, I'd run it by Tom Priato from a structural standpoint.
So that's where we are.
Okay. So, okay.
We're going
So
to
that,
table this and we need a meeting, we need a site meeting to review how we're going forward with this project.
okay, fantastic. Thank
Zach,
you.
you're good with that?
Yes, obviously, Dean, I defer to you as chair. I'm just a little alarmed that work has taken place and I'm not all that confident that more work won't take place before we get out there.
This is a code enforcement issue right now, so
Yeah,
this is
okay.
not part of our purview at
I
all.
understand.
Are
So,
there any members of the board who want to make a comment about this property? We're going to table this until we have a site meeting and we hear from code enforcement. Comments?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make that motion to table 128 Germain Avenue. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'll make the
Aye.
motion. I'll make the motion to open the public hearing for 50 Harrison Street. Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
great,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
14 Hillside Drive, we're not doing that now?
Sorry.
Old business?
Okay, I'm gonna close that public hearing for 50 Harrison. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, thank you, Mrs. Dearman. 14 Hillside Drive East.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is CEO Liu. I'm the architect for 14 Hillside Drive East. We presented our building last week and the board has questions about the trees in the front yard. And could I share my screen?
Please.
Yep. Go ahead.
I'm gonna share my screen. Why the share is dimmed?
We don't see it.
Yeah, I know the button that I'm clicking is dimmed. It won't let me share.
Steve, you're muted.
Okay,
There you go.
is it working?
We see something happening.
Yeah.
It's saying you're sharing,
Okay,
but nothing is up yet.
okay. So basically there are 3 trees in the front yard. And we actually located all 3 trees. And then I think it's sharing right now.
Yep. There you
Okay.
go. Thank you.
You can see that's labeled. Oops. Good. Okay, it's labeled here, tree 1, tree 2, and tree 3. Did you see it?
We do.
Okay. Oh, it's blank. It's keep on blinking. So the tree 2 and tree 3 is actually outside the property. Only tree 1 is in the property. So we thought about this and we decided just remove the tree 1 and put our driveway where we proposed it. And we would, of course, we'll now keep touching the other 2 trees.
To remain. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was the only outstanding issue, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Steve, comments?
I think that's a good solution. I drove by today. I agree with it.
Bob, comments?
I agree with Steve.
Val, comments?
I agree also.
Bethany?
Good to go.
Judith?
Fine.
I make the motion to approve 14 Hillside East. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you
Who
very
was-
much.
Who was the second, Steve?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to open the public hearing for 50 Harrison Street?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 50 Harrison Street.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Butler. I'm the architect representing the applicant, Mark and Joanna Reese. And we're here. I believe Mark and Joanna are here in observance and to answer any specific questions that may come up.
Can you just brief the our audience, if you will, your project and what you're proposing? So it's
Yeah,
on the
sure
record.
thing. Yeah, so the application before you tonight is a demolition of the existing roughly 2,000 square foot cape and the construction of a new just over 3,000 square foot, and that's why we're here, new 4-bedroom detached, 4-bedroom home.
Can you give us that
both-
number, that just over 3,000 for the record?
It is, give me a second while I scroll in here, zoom in here. I think it's 3,070.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. The application is also going to include an accessory shed with a swimming pool in the rear yard, as well as a new IA system, as well as landscape improvements around the yard.
I'll make a comment. Thank you very much with working so closely with us. That was a great experience. Do I have comments from the board? Judith?
Do we have any things to look at? Renderings or?
Mr. Architect, could you just go through the elevations just quickly for the record?
Yeah, sure. You want me to share my screen?
Yes, please. Just to reiterate, this is a brand new build.
Or anything that will show what it looks like?
We need elevations.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I can only share one screen. I can't figure out how to change it. Here, there we go. Okay, so the top view up here, can you guys all see this?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I see the landscape plan.
Okay, screen you're sharing. Let's try this.
There you go.
Now you should be able to go over and just click the pictures that you want.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome.
Can you guys see this?
We can see the front and
Yeah.
rear.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we have the front elevation and rear elevation.
Pardon me, this is proposed, right?
Yes, this is new construction.
Do you have any pictures, any images of the existing building?
I do. I'm going to have to stop that share. I don't know if they're that great because there's a fair amount of vegetation in the front yard, but let's give this a shot. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
That's all I have on that.
Can I ask this question? I drove by. It's a very attractive house. It looks like it's in very good condition. Maybe the fence needs some work. Is this contributing?
No.
it is not.
Okay, thank you.
And as the owner and resident, we might have disagreements on the current state of the existing house, but
Okay.
maybe that's not for now.
Fair enough.
Okay, can you please continue with the elevations?
Sure thing. So here's, I'll just do a basic site plan where you see the proposed home, the accessory shed, and then the swimming pool in the rear, as well as the sanitary system up here in the front yard. Here's the front elevation and rear elevation. Here are the two side elevations. And if you give me one more second, I can get a rendering for you. Okay, can you guys see that?
You can.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the house will have, standing seam roof, will be in gray galvalume, and the siding will be gray with white trim and black windows.
Great. And do you have that rendering of the side elevations just for the record?
There you go.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna reach out to the public and ask for a public comment, and then I'll go back for final comments from the board. Is there a comment from the public? Anyone from the public that would like to comment on this project? Great. Val, comments?
No, I think he did a really nice job with this. The existing house is a Cape Cod, and this, I think, is very similar in terms of mass and scale. So, no comment.
Bethany?
I think it's quite a handsome plan. And I know that I was a little concerned with the second floor porch. But when you go to the property and you drive down, it's in a gully. It's almost no matter where, you can't block it no matter what from the neighbors. I don't think, because of the neighbor on the corner.
Yeah.
Because of they're so much higher than this is.
Steve?
No, I agree. I think it's attractive. It's understated, and to their left is a house under construction that's, I think, has a larger mass. So I think the scale of this is wonderful.
Bob?
I think it's a good-looking house. I hate to see the other house that they're going to demolish, though. But I think it's fine.
Judith?
Yeah, I'm with Bob. It's too bad to destroy a perfectly good house, but this is a nice design, I think. And Harrison Street is changing, and there are many large houses. Used to have lots of little houses. Now it's going to have lots of big houses. So I'm fine with it.
I love the standing seam. I think it's a very attractive house, and as much as it is as attractive, I think it's gonna be a great space in and out. So
Mhm.
well done, and thank you for working with us. I know
Yeah.
we've gone through a couple of iterations of this, so well done.
Yeah.
I
Thank
make
you.
I make a motion to close the public hearing for 50 Harrison Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you.
Steve was the second.
To close the meeting, yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve 50 Harrison Street as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? I'll second
Second.
that. Okay, that was Judith. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Great, thank you very much.
So Dean, does that mean we're finished with this process?
With the ARB, yes, you have to ask, contact Carrie in the morning and find out where you go from there.
Dean, was there a landscaping plan that we should review here?
We did.
Okay.
If you want to see it again, but we just approved it.
Okay, fine.
All right.
I must have napped off, I guess. I don't know.
It's a very nice one. They did a great job with it. And like Bethany said, it's well screened.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the public hearing for 32 Glover Street?
So move.
I'm going to recuse before you start the process, so let me sign off here.
So Steve opened the motion. Who's second?
Is there, I'll second that opening of the 32 Glover Street. Great. Okay, applicant, please tell us about your project and state your name for the record.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian DeSessa, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7, Bridgehampton, New York. Attorney for the applicants. I will. So before you is the property located at 32 Glover Street. We've been before this board for a few meetings with revisions. What I believe to be at the last meeting, we came to a consensus on this design. But for the size being a little over 3,000 feet required the public hearing. So we're back here for purposes of that. There's an existing.
Brian, for the record, what is the square footage of this structure as presented?
Is just over 3,200 square feet.
Great, thank you.
That is existing plus the proposed. And what you're seeing on your screen to the right is the existing contributing structure that is going to be maintained with the addition being set back further into the property with this one-story connector. We've gone through several iterations of this to make sure that, as Mr. Studenroth said, put these into the same vernacular in terms of what they look like, how they appear for that street. We've changed the changes that were last time are highlighted here before the board at this point, moving the entry walk to the existing cottage, we're keeping the two remaining windows that are in the existing cottage. We simplified the door. We removed the transom and light panels that were around that. We added a porch to this addition so that it would complement what's already there. And we changed the window profiles on the addition to be better aligned with what is existing. We changed the roof lines in the middle addition here and stepped this down so that there is a clear delineation and break between that. I don't believe there were any other questions from the board at this time. And the only other note that I'm just reading through here now is, my apologies, Mr. Chairman, the total square footage of existing and proposed, which was outlined on page 3 of the submissions, is 3,045 feet. I had transposed some of the numbers, so my apologies there.
It's smaller, even better.
It is smaller,
Yeah.
so yes, so with that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board or anyone may have. But other than that, nothing has changed with respect to this proposal from last time we were here.
Okay, I'm gonna jump to Zach and then to the public and then the final comments from the board.
Sure. Well, I think all of the comments and the discussion that we have had have produced a very, very good solution here. I think it fits well with all the objectives that you have as a board in terms of maintaining the emphasis on the existing house. Shifting the entryway was important, kind of toning it all down with that porch to make the new better aligned with the old. I think it's a very successful design.
Is there someone from the public that would like to comment on this project? There's got to be somebody out there tonight. No?
I'll ask a question then, if you can hear me. I'm a resident of Glover Street, so this.
Your name, please, sir?
Thomas Moore. I'm at 8 Glover Street, so.
Okay.
Is the question is, since I haven't, this is the first time I've seen this proposal. Looks like it's essentially doubling the size of the property or size of the house that's currently on there. How big is the land itself?
Brian?
The land itself is, let me scroll in on this. As soon as that clears up, it's about it is, hold on. It's just about a third of an acre. The rear yard's 4,500. Hold on. I'm trying to do this while it's on the screen share, so my apologies on that. Give me 1 minute, please. Sorry. If I stop screen sharing, I can get you that answer quicker. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I can see the, I can see this thing here. $13,000 square feet is the lot.
Okay, so and you're moving then the driveway from next to the current house to the far end of the property.
That is correct.
Okay. So it'll yeah, because and are you changing the exterior of the existing house? Because the existing house is, I think, is a shingle style. So you're making it a white.
It's going to remain shingle, but be painted white is the proposal.
Okay. Okay.
And the enclosed front porch is being converted back to an open front porch under this proposal. But the building itself will remain the same with those additions, with those modifications.
Okay. Okay. So basically, from the street side, you'll see an extended structure, and then I guess a fence because currently there's just a bit of a hedge there at the moment.
Pretty empty, but correct. We have fence with a hedge behind it, keeping it low to still have the view through there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Steve Williams?
As we concluded in the last meeting, I think it's I agree with Zach that there's been a lot of progress on this. It looks handsome and attractive, and again, understated. So I think it's well done. I still do.
Great. Judith?
I agree. I think it's they took into account all of our concerns and did a great job answering them.
Bethany?
I think it is just fine.
Bob?
I think it's fine.
Well, at the end of the day, we've restored this little old house. We've retained that. And, this is like architectural design gymnastics here, making this thing work. And I hand it to the architect. They listened to our comments, and I think it looks great. So with that, I make a motion to close the public hearing for 32 Glover Street. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Is there a motion to approve 32 Glover Street.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. We have another public hearing. And that is, I make a motion to open the public hearing for 14 Cove Road. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Judith was first. Okay, applicant, please state your name for the record and tell us about your project.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian DeSessa, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7, Bridgehampton, New York, attorney for the project located at 14 Cove Road. We were here at the end of November and the two meetings of December. This was a project that the board had previously approved last year. New owners took over the property, and as the board may recall, the shift was from a modern house to what you see here now, more of a farm-like house, cedar siding, pitched roofs, versus the modern house that was previously approved. So the applicant came in and redesigned the house roughly inside of the same footprint. It's not a contributing house that is being torn down, but the proposed house is over 3,000 feet. It's actually 3,125 are the numbers that I have here in terms of square footage. Mr. Williams, you had asked at the previous hearing, we had submitted this elevation, which shows spot elevations from the road leading up as to the properties on both sides, one being down in 10 Cove, which is down very low, this kind of being a high point, and then we slide lower as we go from
South to north?
South to north. I had to think about that for a second. Yes, from south to north. We did take into consideration of that. So in speaking with the architect on it, the house is proposed, the structure itself is 29.9 feet. So we're keeping that level down so that that massing doesn't appear out of context for the two adjoining properties. We have talked to the owner at 12 Cove Road, who has reviewed the plans and elevations and was in support of it. I have not spoken to the owner of the property at 10. We did send them the mailings though, and I did reach out. That is the house under construction, as you may recall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
Not yet.
I do have one, Brian, but do you want to call for the public first, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, let's let Brian finish. We'll go hear public comment and then we'll jump to the board.
This, again, just to review with the board, this was the landscape plan. This is Cove Road.
We don't see the landscape plan yet.
You can't see it?
No, I see the elevation, west elevation.
Oh, how about now?
Okay.
Can we see the landscape plan?
No.
No. We can see the gate and the fence, Brian, like over in the corner. But
How about now?
Yes.
there you go.
Yeah.
Ah, very good. I'm working on a 13-inch laptop, so it's a little challenging to move all these windows around. So my apologies. The house being situated here, my mouse on the left side of the page is indicating Cove Road, the water being on the right side here. Landscaping remained basically unchanged. We did correct some of the elevation and grade changes in the front, and that was reflective on the previous drawing that was there. There is very good proposed screening and height on both sides of the property to screen the neighbors from this property. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that may be there. As I know we have discussed this at previous occasions, and no changes aside from what I had gone over specifically have changed.
Thank you. I will ask for public comment. Is there someone from the public that would like to make a comment on this project?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record.
Dave Harvey, 21 Cove Road, which is directly across the street from this property.
Okay, sir.
Just a couple quick questions. I'm very familiar with the previous project that was approved. I just have a question for Brian. Is this basically in the same footprint, or what else is different?
Yeah. So, hey Dave, how are you? The architect here used the exact same footprint from the previous approval. so that for purposes of permitting. So the house is in the same footprint as the previously approved house was.
Okay, so yeah, so all the harbor committee, all the, the hoops they jump through, that's all still just the same. And it looks good. Just taking a quick peek. This is the first time I've seen it.
Sure. This is the streetscape.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, do they currently have the dock and the landing? I think they do, right? Or
They do.
have some-
Yeah, those are existing conditions. They're proposing to rebuild those.
Yeah.
Pulling that up now. That area exists currently.
Mhm. And what was the total square footage on this?
3125.
And is that similar to what was approved, or? Is
Yes.
that
Yep.
Yeah, so they just basically changing the flavor, but it's the same project, right? Pretty
Correct. On this side, we're asking, we've changed the patio and pool configuration, but roughly in the same footprint, maintaining the setback lines that were previously established by the Harbor Committee approval.
Okay.
So where's your bandit path for your paddleboard? How do you get to the water through this property?
Yeah, exactly. I need to get through there. No, it looks good. Can we go to the front elevation just real quick? It's
Is that up on everyone's screen?
No, we're still in
No.
the landscape.
How about now?
No.
Sorry, hold on one second.
I see Judith.
How about now?
Yeah. So what kind of colors do we have going on? I don't want it to clash with mine. I'm trying to fix mine, by the way, but
It's the siding, the roof is a standing seam in a
Galvalume
finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
The board and bat is painted to match the siding in a color called light mist. Let me see if I can pull up a color sample of that I have on here.
No, it's kind of a very light gray, I think.
Correct. It's a shade of gray. I'm not.
Yeah, it's a super light gray. Yeah. Okay.
It's a shade of gray.
And is the garage door glass, or is that just a solid door?
The frosted glass is the
Frosted
proposal for the
Okay.
garage.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions. I don't have a problem.
Great, thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Great, let's run through the board. Steve Williams, comments regarding this project?
No, Brian, you said the earlier picture you showed us or diagram didn't show the pyramid and didn't show the standing seam. So my questions were around that. So you've answered them now. So I have no other questions.
Judith?
I think it looks quite fine.
Bob?
It looks fine to me.
Al?
Yeah, it looks good. I think to the neighbor's point, the previous house had a lot of glass on it, and I think that this is more sympathetic to the neighborhood. It's a friendlier house to live next to than a big glass box.
Bethany?
I agree with Val.
Thank you for the professional drawings. I hate to have to say that, but it's nice to look at something in the details and have an idea what you're proposing. And it's super helpful to be, I guess, so detailed and accurate. So thank you very much for that. With that, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing of 14 Cove Road. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Is there a motion to approve 14 Cove Road as submitted? I need
I'll
a
make
motion.
that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Okay, new business. 11 Terry Holdings, LLC, 11 Terry Drive.
That's also Brian.
Good evening, members of the board. Brian DeSesta, 2462 Main Street, Suite 7, Bridgehampton, New York. We're here for an application at 11 Terry. We were before this board some time ago. and then had to we subsequently then were before the Harbor Committee for some time to resolve the project. I can report to you today that we do have a Harbor Committee approval for the project. The lot is currently a vacant lot located at 11 Terry Drive. The applicant is proposing to construct a two-story home, which totals 2,650 square feet on the first and second floors, and requires no zoning relief. So when you last saw the house, it was slightly larger. Through the process of working through the Harbor Committee and with the building inspector, it was narrowed and squeezed so that the square footage is somewhat smaller than when you originally saw it. When you originally saw it, it was closer to 3,000 square feet. So it is a little less now, so that we would be 100% conforming to the zoning code with respect to setbacks and everything else. It fronts the water and is at the end of Terry and a private parking lot on the other side. So we have an IA system proposed in the front. The planting and buffer area as approved by the Harbor Committee, which is specified for the plans here, with a deck and otherwise. The elevations of the house. So this is the, these are, let me try to zoom in because this is the street side of the house that you're seeing here. This is the water side of the house. Side profile of the house with the spot elevations to show compliance with all the sky planes. And I do have, these are the drawings, but I want to get to so I could show what the renderings were on it. So again, being the street side and again being the water side, we removed from the renderings, the plantings were removed so that you could see the house, but this is all the native vegetated buffer area. Which is two things. One, a 75-foot setback buffer area from the edge of wetlands, as well as a 50-foot setback from what did take us some time. There's a foot of bluff indicated on the map. The lot is pretty flat. Here are some of the photos from that area now. This is the wooded area is being the lot. This is the lot facing, standing at the beach, looking back toward the lot. This is at the street looking toward the lot. This is the lot looking to the west, and this is the neighboring house to the east on that.
As far as the landscape is concerned, maybe we could concentrate on some comments regarding the architecture, because with the landscaping, I would like to request, I guess, a more definitive plan depicting where the existing trees are there. I think they're doing a lot as far as screening this structure from the property to the east, and then you have that public way on the west side. And there is a stand of trees that I think is wonderful. It's interesting that someone went into the center of this property and cut all the trees down without a permit, but I'll leave that to somebody else to follow up on that. But what's existing and what's left, I think it'd be really important to see where they are. I know you have some things there, or like 5 or whatever, but maybe a real concerted effort to save more trees for screening purposes as this.
So we can identify that. This basically around the house is the area to be cleared to the front because of the installation of the septic and everything else. Basically from this dotted line, this area, and we can put that on a survey for you so you're specific. You're talking on the eastern and western sides, what trees we can keep.
Yeah, from that dotted line, we had nothing to do with the Harbor Committee stuff, but there are some great screening trees, and this house would, be couched perfectly into this neighborhood if more trees were proposed to be salvaged.
We did identify on them which ones are staying, but we can give you pull it off of the drawing so it's not as busy.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy. It's not like you can really see what I think it's kind of vague. So
Okay.
if someone were to go there and see what trees were actually being saved, it's we're looking at some sort of graphic, some presentational. I think something needs to be on the survey so we can see what you're saving.
Okay.
it is doing something. This is a unique piece of architecture, and I think it will meld better if you save more of the indigenous, or I guess existing trees on the site. That said, can we go into the architecture, please? Brian, are you there? Brian?
So what we're looking to do is, yes, I'm here. What? So did you not hear me?
No, I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we're trying to keep, and let me just go to here because it's easier to explain some of these. So what the applicant's looking to do is more of a modern look. So woods, stone, and some glass on the structure, with an eye toward being, I guess, transitional, I'm told, if you will, with respect to that. So limiting windows on the east and west sides, which are the association parking lot, and two being the neighboring property, focusing light coming through on the north-south access.
And what is your square footage of this structure?
It is 2,650 square feet.
Thank you.
And the intent was with the glass on the north and south sides, to bring light in and bring a lot of that native area in, because we will be maintaining a lot of that native area, which we can identify better on another survey for you. And to be sensitive to the neighbors on the east and the west being, again, the existing residential house and the association parking lot. It's a standing seam roof, which is in a dark gray material. Let me take you to the side elevation. So you can see on the two side elevations how we've limited, so that both the public and the adjoining neighbor and the inhabitants of this house to be maintain privacy, plus with the screening that you brought up earlier.
Great. Zach, questions?
Unofficially, I love it. I mean, I think it's very tight. I mean, the scale is quite modest, which I think is appropriate to the neighborhood, and yet it's very modern. It's kind of bold. I think this is a kind of refreshing departure from what you often see.
Oh,
So I think it's quite handsome.
Val?
I'll agree with the departure point of the comment, but this is the kind of house on paper. It's very busy, I think, because of the panel system, but the rendering, it helps. I think it really helps soften, the look, but I'm just trying to, I'm looking at this for really the first time. So it is heavily shrouded, Brian, this house from the street?
Well, the lot is wooded now. We're proposing, from the street to the front of the house, is going to be new vegetation, because we're going to have to take the existing vegetation down for the construction of the house and the installation of the septic system. So
right.
The existing screening we're leaving is on the east and the west sides, and on the water side, those are the remaining areas. Plus being augmented with the new landscape plan.
Well, let's be clear with that, Brian. I mean, you have like perennials and weeds in the front. We don't have a lot of screening going on in the front of this house.
Beach side.
On the roadside.
There will not be, correct. That yes.
So I think, to Val's point there, it'd be nice to see maybe more indigenous plant or plants that you see around this association to help. At the moment, you have perennials in front of this house. So you drive down this road, you see this whole thing. And I think to make it work with the streetscape and to soften it a bit, and that's before we get to the other comments from the board, I think another look at the landscaping and melding it into the neighborhood would be advisable. Val, did more comments?
No, I think it'll fade. The roof is a dark color, so it'll be a little bit more subtle, but I was just curious because it's the first thing you see is this big, the white triangle, but yeah, it's not a large house in terms of scale, but I'd rather leave it at that because this is the first time I'm really seeing it, so I'll pass.
Bob?
I really like the design on this house, and Brian, what I think about solar panels on that roof there.
I can ask. I don't know if that's the intent, but that's a good suggestion.
It's a perfect spot for it.
Yeah.
I think beautiful design.
Judith?
I really like the design. Now, is it some sort of optical illusion or is there a roof deck on the roof?
There's a roof deck there. There's no optical illusion. That was discussed from the last time. Yes, that's still there.
Okay. And we think that the roof deck is all going to be shielded.
That's what we're going to prove to you. Yep, that's our position. Yes.
Yeah, I love the design. I think it's great.
Bethany?
Yes, I agree that I like the scale. And I think, I mean, it is 20, right? 2650. And, but still with this particular design, it doesn't even look that big to me.
Yeah.
Even with colors, with the bold, the white and the black. But no, I like it.
Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I wear two hats here. One as a board member, one as a neighbor to this property. Can I bifurcate my comments?
Well, how close are you to this property?
120 feet away.
Do you share a property line?
I do not.
Okay, so you're good to go.
Okay. So as a sitting board member, I agree with the comments. This is much more attractive than a number of the original proposals. And I think that it actually is between two buildings that are more modern in their design. So it has a bit of context. I am concerned about the roof deck and making sure that it does not, impede on the neighbors. So if it's shrouded in such a way that it only looks over the water, there's really nothing we can say about that to complain about it. So that's the only other comment as a board member is when you do the landscaping, as you do know, we have open front yards, and whatever plantings are there, I wouldn't want them to be more than 3 feet, maybe 4 at most, because we'd want that open street access sort of look that the rest of the neighbors, for the most part, have and not shrouded in. So that's kind of from a board perspective. From a personal neighborhood perspective, Brian, you know that the association is concerned about this project and what it means. It's good that you have moved it in so you don't have any setback like you did before in terms of your cellar, stairs, et cetera, et cetera. It also looks like you have reduced the waterside facade in such a way that it's, I don't see this as an entry to below grade living. Am I looking at this right?
There is still a staircase to the basement on the project.
Okay, is it on the side or is it on the front?
It is on the side, not in the front. It's on the side of the house.
But it doesn't go into the side yard setback requirements.
It does not. We shrunk the whole footprint of the house, the width of the basement staircase, which was 4 feet. So we moved everything inside of the side yard setback.
Okay, so in terms of representing the association, I will tell you that we don't feel the book is closed on the covenant that we referred to. I do believe that you showed good faith in trying to get an additional title search to locate that covenant. I think I know why. It has not been located because I've been in touch with the records office in Riverhead. So unfortunately, because of COVID, we couldn't follow up to complete the investigation. So I'm just telling you that. I'm going to try to get access to Riverhead as soon as possible so we can end this one way or another, whether it's a myth or whether it really is a covenant. So that ends my comments.
Okay, with that, Brian, I think a real earnest attempt to landscaping this thing would be great.
Sure.
It could be, I think couching this in and have it work with the streetscape would be great, opposed to having just grass going up to this edifice, and saving some indigenous trees that are really working right now you have a large house on the east side and the west side. Yes, there's that public way. I think maintaining some of that existing material is super important. And then as far as I think in the front, I saw some sort of a corner second-story balcony to I think Steve's point, making sure that those balconies have some sort of screening is very important to our board.
Could I ask the board to separate the house from the landscape plan, and I'll continue back with the landscaping?
Val, if I heard you correctly, you would like to take another look at these drawings?
No.
Okay.
I think the question was it screened, to the front? I think the consensus here seems to be that the design went through some good rounds of revision, and I picked up on the fact that there's been some favorable changes. So I'm good with it. I just wondered if it were screened, and that's all. That was my only question.
I think that's a very important component of this project, Brian, the landscaping and maintaining some of that screening. It is a narrow lot and there are some large existing trees. I think, I think you have a favorable opinion for most of the board members of this property. I certainly think it's bold. But I think that landscaping and maintaining some existing plant material is really part of this project as a whole.
Okay.
So would the architecture be not, I don't want to say bothered, but would you feel, Brian, that something would need to be changed because of the landscaping?
No, I mean, I think we're good on the house. I think we're just going to augment and look to make the size of the landscaping more, and change potentially some of the materials on the street side per the board's comments would be my recommendation to the designer.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, so I just asked for the next date on that, and I can get that accomplished.
Anyone from the board there, does this all sound appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go with that. I'm going to make a motion to table 11 Terry Drive.
And for the record, the next meeting is January 28th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
5 Green Street, please.
Good evening, members of the board. My last application for the evening.
I think you're closing us out, Brian, aren't you?
I'm trying. Nope, this is it. I am going. So we did, when we were here last, back at the end of November, my notes recall, we then set up a site visit with Zach to come out because there was a question as to the contributing nature of this house after it went through a renovation in approximately 2008. We had some of the members out to visit the house and do a walk around with the architect and myself. So it's my, not to put words in anyone's mouth, but understanding was that there is nothing, no historic fabric of the house remains after that renovation from a previous owner in approximately 2000. What you have on the screen is was the landscape plan and some gate details. I'm pulling up the house, but I didn't know if the board wanted to hear from Mr. Studenroth as to, with respect to that, for members that weren't able to make it to the site visit.
I got that covered.
Okay.
But I still don't see the gate detail that we asked for that blue gate.
This one?
Yeah.
That's the existing gate we're keeping.
Okay, but it doesn't say existing, so that was a problem. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could put that note on there. That gate it exists currently on the house at the house today.
Okay, that's super important.
Yep.
Okay, great. Zach, can you just brief us on your report?
Sure. Well, very briefly, this is listed as a, excuse me, contributing house, although it was substantially transformed in in the renovations. And so I feel that at this stage of the game, the issue before you was really more of an aesthetic one than that having to do with whether the historic fabric is being respected or not. And to that point, I think enlarging it as proposed really makes it a more balanced facade and presentation of the street. So I don't find anything aesthetically objectionable to it. And as I said, there's really no issue as to impacting the historic fabric, because I think that cow has left the barn, or whatever that expression is. So that's pretty much my input. I think it's certainly acceptable.
Val, comments? Val Florio.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm trying to look at what the architecture looks like, and I don't.
On my screen share, what we're proposing, the center mass is the existing house. The western dormer area currently exists on the front of the house from the street of Green Street.
Yeah.
The applicant is proposing this addition here.
We're
still looking at the landscape plan.
We're not seeing it.
We're on the landscape, yeah.
I don't know what, my apologies. How about now?
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
So let me go through that again. So the existing mass of the center part of the house is there today. We're not proposing any changes on that. And this dormered area bump out on the western side, it exists already today. What the applicant is proposing is a 6.3 foot bump out on the first floor. And I'll show you it in the side plane. So this again is the front of the house. We're proposing this is a 6.3 foot bump out on the first floor, and then set back, we're proposing this bump out, which is approximately 4 feet. So on the street profile, that's this area with a dormer and a 4 foot bump out for rooms on the second floor, existing rooms that are just being enlarged. And in addition to that, this is the western side of the house. This area here currently exists. We're proposing this lower dormered area as a bump out, maintaining the same profile that exists on the western side. And the purpose of this is to allow for an internal staircase to go to the basement. Currently, the only access to the basement is through the Bilco door on the outside. So this bump out will allow for the installation of an internal staircase to the existing basement.
Nice detail.
Great. All right.
And then this again is if you were in the backyard looking toward Green Street, you'll see this is the bump out area that we're proposing for the stair. And then these are the 2 bump out areas that we're proposing on the eastern side of the house.
Yep. Good. I'm good with this. Thank you for the walkthrough.
Judith?
Yes, I think it's an improvement over what's there. I think it will, as Zach says, it'll balance it.
Bethany?
Yes, I agree. I was there at the house, and definitely this will make it more even for on each side.
Yeah.
Bob?
It looks more balanced to me. I think it looks good.
Steve?
I agree that it's balanced, but looking at this exposure, this facade, it looks like, is that existing house that's outside of the pyramid?
It is, Mr. Williams. So that when the house was constructed, the pyramid line was started at 5 feet above grade, and then you drew your 45. So instead of starting at grade, the line started here. So when the house was constructed, it complied to the old pyramid. Now that the pyramid law has changed, some of the existing house, that's why you're seeing that line there.
Thank you. I agree. I was there today. I think it would lend some balance to the front of the building.
I think it's attractive. Well done. Do I have a motion to approve 5 Green Street as presented?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you all. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Right.
27 Harbor Avenue, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Rajesh Prothro. I'm here with my wife, Adrienne Davis Prothro, who is the owner of the property. What I want to present tonight is a modified enclosed deck design plan for the second story. Carrie, would you put up slide 1?
Sure can. Hold on one moment.
No, they said it's new business.
Well,
When we were here earlier, and the chairman had some concerns about the privacy as it related to the neighbors behind us. So what we just, Carrie, go back to slide number 1, please.
What's
Thank
that
you.
one?
This is the front of the deck that's facing the property of the neighbors. And it's 6 feet tall, which means that their property can't be seen from the deck, and they can't see the activity on our deck. Could you go to the next slide, please? This is a side view of one side of the deck, and it's the same height and width of the front. Could you go to the next slide, please? And on this slide here, it's the same height. The only difference is that there is a 4-foot opening next to the house, which will enable you to walk onto the deck. Does anyone have any questions?
So, sir, the comment was, we prefer that these second-story decks are screened from neighboring properties. So this is how
Yes,
you're handling it. If this is how you run through the board, but I'll run through the board and get their comments and we can go from there.
You were breaking up. I couldn't understand what you were saying.
We prefer that second-story decks are screened from neighboring properties. So you can achieve that this way, or you could use, some plant material. So if this is the way you would like to go, I'd like to go through the board and ask for their comments. Steve Williams, comments on this project.
So to be clear, Mr. Protho, this is going to be an open deck with a surrounding screening, which it looks like it's going to be, I don't know, something with a lattice on top. And
Something similar to a lattice.
And that's going to go around 3 sides of the deck with the only opening
Yes, it
would be that
enclose the deck.
And what's going to get you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
So the 4-foot opening is going to accommodate some stairs on the side of your house to access the deck from the
No,
yard?
no, we exit the house on the second level, make a right and go right into the new deck.
Okay. And the height of the deck is 8 feet 9 inches from grade
8
and
feet 7 inches.
8 feet 7?
Yes.
Okay, and so okay.
And the
All right.
height of the railing and lattice combination is 6 feet.
Okay, I mean, I don't have any comment. It seems like he's meeting with you know, the intent. So I have no negative comments about it at all. Have you by any chance shown this to your neighbor?
They are aware that we're going to construct this deck. I should also supplement my comments by saying it is our intentions of planting trees also on our property line to obscure, set up to obscure the deck. We have contacted, matter of fact, last year we contacted 4 landscapers. 3 of them showed up. We told them what we wanted and they said, fine, but we have yet to hear back from them. So what I'm saying is, in addition to putting up this enclosure, we also plan to put trees that are at least 8 or 9 feet tall on our property line, which will
Right.
supplement the heighting of the deck.
Just very quickly, to that comment about the tree planting, didn't you and the chairman of this board discuss planting some strategic trees?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Trees? Is my memory right?
That's correct. And I just said that what we did after the meeting, we contacted 4 landscapers, 3 of which came over to our residence. We outlined what our plan was. Matter of fact, one of the guys identified the type of trees he was going to put up and the spacing as you guys required. But they have yet to date, they haven't gotten back to us, and I've contacted them, but as of today, we haven't heard back from them.
So Steve,
sorry.
The question for us is that there are 2 ways of handling the screening of the 2nd-story deck, which they have a massive deck up there already. This is an extension. So they're screening it this way internally on their property with this lattice fence, or they could plant it. They have chosen to screen it in on their deck with this wood structure.
See, my understanding was different, Mr. Chairman, only in that it sounds like they're going to screen and enhance that with planting.
That's correct.
And I just want that to be clear to make sure that I understood this correctly.
That's correct, Mr. Williams.
Judith?
If that's what the applicant wishes to have, then it seems to me that it's fine. I'm just wondering if, when you're out on your deck, if you've cut off all your view, but that's up to you. So if this is, yeah.
Judith, I think you and I went and saw the property.
Oh, that, I
Remember?
know that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So I think this will work fine.
Valerie? I'm sorry. Val, Floria.
I'm getting bullied again. Can I make a
Combination.
suggestion
Val and I can talk at the same time.
to the applicant? Because the lattice work comes in 4-foot pieces. So I want to help you with a suggestion, if the board would agree. Could you make the top part 2 foot above the deck rail? And that way you're not wasting material, because you've got to purchase 4x8 sheets of lattice. And I think that would speak to what Judith had just said. You've created the privacy. I don't know how tall you are, but imagine you're going to be sitting on this back deck.
That's correct.
And I think that I personally feel that you've done this screening in an effort to, appease the neighbors and also the board, but I don't feel like you should be punished into making this thing 6 feet tall, even though I shouldn't use those words. You want to go down this pathway, and I'm trying to help you.
We're not trying to punish
And
the committee.
no,
Sal.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a
Yeah, it's a
great
very
idea.
good
Thank you.
idea.
Yeah, because
Very good.
5 foot would be adequate. If it's 6 foot tall, you know, you personally might feel like you've closed yourself in a little bit. And I'd be happy if you just change that 36 inches to 24 and we approve this based on that height.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Bob,
I
comments?
think Val's suggestion is appropriate.
Bethany?
I agree. I think that's a very good idea now.
Okay, so 24-inch lattice. This is good to go. I'll make that motion to approve 27 Harbor Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Thank you very much for working with us.
You have one question.
Yeah, I wanted to, since you guys have a lot of experience with respect to trees, when we put the trees on the property line, what height do you think they should be? Should they be 9 feet or higher?
Well,
or-
you're approved with the way you're screening this deck right now.
Yes.
So you're supposed to come back to us as far as if you're doing major landscaping, and
We will.
you can check with the building department and see, you know, where you stand on that aspect. But that's as far as this is concerned, you've achieved what we wanted.
All
Okay,
right.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Happy New Year.
Mhm.
You too.
25 Dartmouth Road, please.
Okay, let me get out of this.
Good evening, board members. Daniel Michaels, architect here. I'm on with Mike and Megan, the owners. We're also here. And I'm just going to share my screen. Last month, we reviewed our application and all of the board members seemed somewhat happy with our design, except with our front porch here. Everyone felt it was maybe a little bit too contemporary or maybe more commercial looking, which we went back and looked at it. You know, we didn't disagree with that. So we went back to the drawing board and made a few revisions to the front, opting away from the flat roof and going to a shallow pitched shed roof with standing seam metal and a more traditional windows and same porch that we had previously. And we made some adjusted renderings to show the new design, which we feel definitely fits more with your comments on more residential scale and a little bit more traditional. And we showed a little bit of foundation plantings, and we are keeping that great dogwood on the front corner of the house. So we wanted to show that that is remaining.
In my opinion, I think it looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And then made a little bit of adjustment in the rear as well. Before we were showing a flat roof structure, but it had a pergola on it. So we went to just a small covered porch with a fireplace, which is 180 square feet for the shed. The entire building is, sorry, I'm just trying to find it here. Well, it's 160 square feet for this proposed accessory structure. No plumbing, flat roof with the same siding, the vertical cedar that we're showing on the two-story addition to the house.
Great. Could you just run through the elevations for us, please?
Sure. So we have the front on Dartmouth here. And if I go to the drawings, this is the proposed addition, existing part of the house. The existing cedar will remain. Replace the windows with new windows that will match in design and color to the new addition. This is the side facing west or east, excuse me. large picture window in our kitchen, and then the den and the master suite. And this part of the house remains. The doors, as I showed in the renderings, will be painted as these existing wood doors to match the rest of the doors and windows on the house. New windows in the den, and here's our 160 square foot shed with a flat roof, creating a covered porch. And this is the west side, looking at our new addition and the fireplace and flat roof accessory structure. And for the fascia details, it will just be on the new 2-story addition, a 1x6 with our half round gutter flush on the house. And the rake board is also a 1x6. And the flat roof structure will have a 1x10 fascia wrapping around the building and then also creating the roof itself.
I really do appreciate all the details. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I think that covers it. Are there any questions that you have on it?
Val?
No, it looks great. I really like the improvements.
Bethany?
So when I look here at the front, you come up on the porch, and then to enter the house at the front, is that what I'm looking at? Is that a window or a door?
This is the front door here.
That is the door. So it's like side. It's to the side.
It's on the
Or is
side.
that? I mean, that's how it looks almost. But all right, I see. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Bob?
I think it's a nice design. And I have no real comments on this house. It looks good.
Judith?
I agree. I think it's a very successful addition to a nice house and a nice addition.
Steve?
I agree with Judith, and I appreciate when architects are responsive to our comments.
Mhm.
I think this is a great design. We all had a problem with the front door. You've achieved our request elegantly. So great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve 25 Dartmouth Road as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Val and who?
Steve,
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great
Have a good night.
presentation. Okay, discussion section.
No, 268 Division Street.
Really?
we don't have it.
We don't have it.
No.
Not online.
Can we add it, Dean, or?
Is 268 Division here? 268 Division Street?
Anthony's there, but
Anthony is here.
Oh, well, if he wants to present 268, please do. Anthony? Okay, we'll go to discussion. We'll second call 268. 6 Rector Street, please. Discussion. 6
Dennis
Rector.
Downs.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi, good evening. Okay, so as far as I understand, everyone on the board has seen the basement of the property at 6 Rector, and they've also seen the prior footings for the original deck that was on the front. I think that was the only issue that was outstanding. Everything else in the back you were okay with as far as changing the siding and things of that nature. And
Okay, for the record, let's have Zach jump in here and let us know about his report.
Right. So we had a site visit, and Bethany and Judith were there, just the two of them. We didn't look at the back that's been proposed because that's all exterior. We were very curious about the renovation of the front facade. And in order to understand that better, we were graciously, given the opportunity to go into the basement and examine the front area that would be affected by this. So, and that was the basis of my report. I think this is really potentially a wonderful project because it proposes the reconstruction of a very, very interesting and unique feature here in the village. This is really basically a kind of an urban house plan, as I pointed out in my report, to have a house that's raised up this high to permit the entrance from the front under the stoop into the basement. That's quite unusual, and it's typical of urban houses in the city where you don't have the opportunity to walk up along the side of the house because they're all in a row. So this is a very urban concept, but it's original to the 1840 construction period. So it kind of prompts discussion about how was this house used originally. That's a whole other discussion. My feeling, however, here is that you're going to want some measured drawings, some elevations, and some construction details, because what's being proposed is the removal of brick or block infill into the 2 window and the 1 door openings. So all of that will be new construction. Those will be wooden door and window inserts with sashes and a door. All of that needs to be detailed appropriately, and there are many precedents, design precedents, to base those drawings on. Beyond that, the existing stoop is of masonry construction, and I believe to achieve the steps going up, and then the platform that would touch the house, all of that would have been of wood. Whether there was a covering above that landing and the steps has yet to be determined. The house is now covered with aluminum siding, and I think with some removals here and there, some structural evidence should come to light to confirm, what the ultimate design solution is. I think the owner has in mind, or has proposed, that a full porch extend across the front. And with that in mind, has discovered some stones down below grade. I would question that conclusion. Those stones could simply be the footings for a stone wall that came up that held the grade back, because of course you have basically a walking area against the house where you go down steps and then into the house on a lower level. So the stones that have been discovered are not necessarily the footings for a porch. They may simply be the remnants of a wall. So there's more investigation that should be done, which is what I've recommended. But I think overall the scope and the concept is great. I think we just want the applicant to work with us in terms of more investigation and renderings to show exactly how this is going to be.
Okay, so before I go to the board, just regarding your comments. So you were kind of suspect about, this below grade entry to this structure. So
no, I'm sorry, don't want to interrupt. There's no question. When we were in the basement, we could see the original front doorway.
Originally, though. So
yes.
what is your gut feeling? What do you think this structure was originally?
Well, we also saw the evidence of 2 fireplaces, which were used as such in the basement level. That's very unusual. This was a living space. I would suggest it might have been built as a boarding house, meaning people were able to enter the house from the street and then down under into an area of living, which would be different from what a conventional basement would have been of the period, which was primarily perhaps cooking for upstairs, but storage and things of that nature. So it points to, and it's close to the wharf, it's close to the harbor. So this may have been purpose-built as a family dwelling, perhaps boarding house, something of that nature.
So Dennis, I'm going to go to the board members, but regarding what Zach said, we need, a lot of details at this point to go forward. He discovered that, yes, in fact, you had a below grade entry, which is great news for you. And then Zach, what he pointed out is what we usually do is we ask for some sort of forensics, like expose what's behind the siding so we can go forward as far as restoration of the structure. With that, Val, comments?
So, yeah, I think the historic restoration of the front is great. And I think if they have some type of graphic material that the board can approve, you know, I think this application only came with photographs, but I think that if they describe the work clearly, you know, it's a good application, and any type of historic renovation is a good thing. So that's my comment.
Bethany?
I would agree with Val, and he actually, Charlie actually made a model that he had out there. And I think eventually maybe we'll see it. Is that, do you get that feeling, Zach, too, that he's gonna bring it at some point? The
Well,
model that's built?
yeah, he indicated that he had made the model just to be able to sort of, you know, represent the overall concept. I do want to remind you, though, that he does show a full porch across the front. So it's a concept.
But you want to find it, we want to find out
Right.
if that is what it was, yeah.
Exactly. We want to get some investigation there to confirm, you know, how the thing would have looked.
Judith?
I think this is a really exciting project, and I can't wait for him to start ripping the siding off and seeing what's underneath there.
Right.
And yeah, and also pulling those cinder blocks out and just seeing what's there. I think it'll be really interesting.
Steve?
I agree with both Judith and Zach. I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
Bob?
I would like to go out to the site and see this. I mean, it
Yeah,
seems
once
like
it's our
pretty
food and the forensics, we'll grab Zach and check this out. This sounds very interesting. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Dennis?
Yes, sir.
Comments?
No, I'm very happy that the board wants to consider this, because now I can go to the zoning board of appeals, because to get the front yard setback variance, which is very common on Rector Street, everybody's house is right up against the road. You know, they'd be reluctant to do that without the comments that you've made tonight, that you think that there was something there before, whether it was a full porch across the whole front or partial. But I know Charlie's been driving around the village looking at other houses that are very, very similar to this, with these front porches that are close to the road, to see whether they go the whole length of the partial length. But, you know, whatever you're willing to grant is what we want to do. And I think if we do open up the front of the house and get that aluminum siding off there, I think we're going to find asbestos siding under it, and then something else under that. So we'll go down to the bare wood. I just have to talk to the building inspector to see if I need a permit to start demolishing a little bit of that front of that aluminum siding. I suspect I will, but I want to make sure we do everything the right way. Okay. And Charlie's committed to this. This was his uncle's house, and it's been in the family for probably close to 100 years now.
Well, Dennis, you have a great project, so I think it sounds favorable on our end. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time tonight.
Great, thank you. Second call, 268 Division Street.
Yes, hello. Hello?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't unmute myself before for some reason. Okay. So here we are, Anthony Vermandois, 68 Union Street. So 268 Union Street, this is a as-built landscape plan. And just to go over differences between what was originally approved and what has been built. The main thing for hardscaping is in the original scheme, we had the driveway coming in off of Marsden Street, new driveway coming in off of Marsden Street and turning left and going right up, almost right up to the house, and with a retaining wall between the house and the driveway. What happened was, as we started excavating that area, we discovered that that to do that retaining wall, there was no way we could build it without undermining the actual foundation for the existing house.
Okay, we don't have a graphic, but I have real problems with this project. You had restoring the house on 268 Division. You requested amendments to the house, a pool, a new drive. You landscaped the front. You were to fix. If we look at the landscape plan that was proposed, there's all new hedging along Division Street. extends down Marsden. And you had that brick wall that would soften that 45-degree angle slope that we're stuck with. So aesthetically, whatever your reason is, we are left with something that is just unaesthetic. And we were skipped that. So you did an as-built, you rendered it, you put color on it and presented it back as a new design. Now, I went to the building inspector and said that this whole landscape was constructed and it wasn't constructed to an approved plan. And I would like to have an as-built done with elevations. So when the client or the owner proposed that they would send in a new design. So months later, we're presented with the as-built, which is it is not aesthetic. It is problematic. And we're presented with something that you want us to approve. And there was no attempt to fix this problem. So we have a shoddy hedge in the front. We have a 45-degree angle slope with dirt on it with some grass. And I'd love Carrie to bring up that picture. So you should have come back to the board and say, listen, we're going to undermine the house or something like that. We're left with something that someone else is going to fix down the road. You got to restore your house. And, I think it looks really poorly on us that we're left with this eyesore on Marsden. Now, that's my opinion. I can go through the board. We can bring up that picture. I think it sells itself.
What picture do you want, Dean?
The picture of what's the as-built here.
Okay.
That's there. So you're supposed to come back with a new design.
Well, we've never.
There should be a wall there, something to break it up to smooth out. There's no way.
Sure. Well, I mean, Dean, that's the feedback we needed. I mean, I'm just coming into this not knowing what you folks needed. This has been going on for months now, and sure, I mean, but I had to understand what the issue was. As far as the privet on the street goes, I mean, that's the existing privet. I mean, that's the existing privet hedge that was already there. So we just elected not to change it.
You did not build the approved plan, and you eliminated some retaining walls, and you left out a lot of plants. That was part of the whole project. So this became a code enforcement issue. Tom Priato told your design team, whoever that person is, he spoke to, and the owner, he told me he did speak to the owner, that we would get an as-built survey so that we had accurate grades, and then we'd get a new design.
Right. So we have the as-built survey.
Just so we know, I'm thinking there may have been a faulty problem with the original survey because the design came out so poorly. And then someone figured out there in the middle, like, well, we're not going to build the walls. Whatever the reason, I don't even care. You should have come back to us and get it, an addendum. You should have gotten this approved. So if you drive up Marsden and you're like, what the hell happened?
So basically, I would say that they need to come back with the new plan, correct?
Yeah, I mean, there was a plan that softened that slope. There was 2 walls. There was a wall that worked, and we signed off on it. And the parking area looked attractive. And now we have something that they just slammed into the ground. And I'll go through the board, and if we can get the picture, Carrie, of what it looks like now, we'll go for comment.
Wow.
Someone put sod, those steps on Marsden there, the original steps, someone put sod upside down so we wouldn't see that. And that stairway was not like that. So if I think a college tried to make this look aesthetic, there were like some holly trees and plants, and there was osmanthus that went all around Division Street. And someone said, screw it, just, plow in the driveway, make the building inspector say, okay, with the temporary C of O you got with the steps, and that's it. And that's what we have. And that, I don't think it's okay. If there was a problem, you guys should have come back to us.
Okay.
I agree, Dean.
Okay, so we're looking at something to move forward here. The main issue here is softening up that slope from the driveway to the house, and you're suggesting maybe a wall of some sort, like a brick wall similar to the original scheme, but further away from the house.
I'll go to the board and I'll ask their opinions, but you should look at the original plan and look at the effort that was presented to us in that proposed plan. And then take a real good look at this thing and how do I make this aesthetically pleasing from the street? And I think we would have a starting point. But I'll go down everyone. Judith?
Well, was this the driveway that was approved? Because I thought that there was some sort of, I can't remember anymore, actually. And I didn't know this was going to be on the agenda because it was not listed on the agenda. So I didn't go and look at it. So I feel like I'm just not really qualified to comment, except that it looks pretty awful.
Bethany, we heard from you. Bob?
I could never approve this the way it looks right now. There's a lot to be said.
Val?
Well, I think you raise a good point because a condition of this approval involved plantings, which is a key component of any approval. And when an applicant closes out a project, if it doesn't correspond to what the board approves, there's an issue. And I think I don't have enough history with this project. It was before my time with the board, but I have driven by this property, and it's always been a mystery to me how the grade change was dealt with without any sort of retaining wall. So yeah, I think to your point, Mr. Chairperson, they have to go back to the original plan and I think revisit what they proposed.
Steve?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you and I walked this together. I think that there's if this, when I remember correctly, it was an ice storage.
Right.
Right. So this is not what I envisioned either. So, I do believe the real importance here is compliance with what is proposed and approved. And this does not meet that standard. So it really does need to be revisited.
And that was my understanding, Anthony, with the building inspector and the owner, that they were going to present us with the new design, an aesthetic design. So hopefully that is helpful and that we can move forward with this. Okay.
Could I ask just your opinions on a couple of things? Because I want to come back here with a plan that you can approve. I understand with the transition from the driveway to the house, I understand sort of turning into the driveway and that kind of corner there, and bringing that back closer to what was approved, which we can do. I think my question to you is the plantings from the driveway going towards Madison Street, and then also the existing privet turning the corner around Marsden and Division Street.
So in my personal professional opinion, osmanthus is extremely expensive. And you have privet throughout Sag Harbor. If someone took the gallant effort of restoring that hedge, i.e. going in with pruners and bringing it back under control and adding some new privet to make that a viable, hedge, which you're trying to represent there anyway. It's just no one's taken the effort to rehabilitate that hedge.
Okay.
It would help a lot.
Okay, so rehabilitation of that hedge. What about going towards Madison?
Well, the whole hedge has to be, you have to look at this thing as
Well, I mean, we changed plan type. So we have the privet to the left of the driveway going around the corner, and then towards the right, that is the, excuse me here while I just get the proper name.
Well, you had the osmanthus on the right where that truck is, and then you had osmanthus on the left, and then some American hollies to kind of transition back into the osmanthus hedge that wraps around.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to get some balance. Someone really needs to take a real full-throated effect, attempt to make this aesthetic. And I don't think it's a difficult thing. You put the walls back, like Val said, or a wall back of some sort, and get that 45-degree angle and give it a shot. We know you know how to do this, Anthony. It's just what's presented here is not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just needed to hear directly from you folks to get some direction on this, but that is helpful.
Any other comments from the board?
Did we approve that driveway the way it is right now?
No.
It was originally, it was doglegging to the left. It is now, because of that foundation issue, it's doglegging to the right.
Okay, it just looks way too big to me.
I mean, that's the size it needs to be for code for, we needed to get 3 cars in.
Okay.
Parking.
Yeah.
It's good for them to park on their own property, honestly.
Yeah.
Because all the kids park across the street there for the school.
Yeah, there's no place to park.
Okay, so Anthony, hopefully that was helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks.
Make a motion to table 268 division. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Back to discussion. Number 2, and that is the Marsden Street Properties, LLC, Marsden Street. Marsden Street, is there a representative for this project?
Yes. Hi, I'm Namita Modi. I'm the architect. I'm just waiting for Pat to get on. He's on, but he just needs to be unmuted and.
Okay, I did unmute and activate my video.
We hear you.
Have to say something to see my picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record, please, and tell us about your project.
Okay, I'm Pat Trunzo from Marsden Street Properties LLC. Offices at 382 Montauk Highway, Waynescott, New York. With me this evening is my architect, Namita Modi. Just to take the board.
We need someone, I need the previous shared screen to.
Yeah, we still have 268 division on the screen.
Still have that up.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board members, good evening. Our first appearance on the board's discussion agenda was in November of 2019, some 14 months ago. At that meeting, we presented 4 designs for the board's consideration, and those historically influenced traditional designs were, to put it mildly, not well received. But the board, to its credit, gave us the benefit of an extended discussion explaining why. It was an enlightening give and take, and we gained an appreciation for the board's philosophy and approach to protecting the historic heritage of Sag Harbor. And we also gained an appreciation of the board's remarkably informed and sophisticated approach to appropriate architecture. Listen carefully, and following our appearance, we gave thoughtful consideration to what the board said and to the direction the board urged that we take for these homes. I hope it is apparent that we did, from the fact that we scrapped those initial designs and went back to the drawing board and started over with a clean sheet of paper. Our objective for these designs was to create homes that have familiar shapes and massing, but are self-evidently contemporary and very much of the present era. From there, I'll let Namita walk you through.
I just want to jump in for a second so we can start to digest some of this. If you could just on an average, tell me what the square footages of these buildings are.
Sure. So for 15 Marsden Street, the square footage is 6,611 square feet. The allowable square footage is 7,000. And for 12 Marsden Street, which is on the south side there, it's 6,525 square feet, allowable 6,621. And finally, 7 Marsden Street, in the middle of the street, is 6,543 square feet, allowable 6,761.
Thank you for that. Please continue.
Okay. So the feedback that we received from you was that every single house should look different and not to mimic historic styles, and to make sure all the houses along the street side, along Marsden Street, face the street and not the shared driveway or some other part of their lots. So in an effort to continue with that, we have come up with a streetscape that begins to show you what it could look like to have these 3 houses on the street. So this is looking west on Marsden Street. And you can see looking toward Madison Street. And so on the right there is 15 Marsden, on the left 12, and then in the back there you'll see 7 Marsden Street. This is just a shot of 15 Marsden, and you'll see that one of the things we tried to do here is we're up on that corner where the school is, the high school is on Division Street. So we provided some screening along this edge coming down from Division Street down onto Marsden Street to create some privacy from the sound and the noise and the high school in general. And this particular design also, you will see later, has a sort of we worked with an angle and a curved wall to sort of obscure part of the house and create a little more privacy. Materials here are hardy board and hardy panels as well. And then you'll see a combination on the roofs of architectural asphaltic shingles and standing seam metal roofs. And then this is a rendering of 12 Marsden Street, which is on the south side. A little bit more of a, I guess, like a farmhouse kind of look. And since you guys said every house should look different, in the past we showed you historic styles that looked similar. Here is another more contemporary look. This house has double hung windows, again, combination of materials, vertical and horizontal hardy siding, and combination again of asphaltic shingles and standing seam metal roof. And you'll also notice in this house, the garage is really tucked in the back there. So you don't really see it out front, sticking out front. It's in the back. And then finally, this is 7 Marsden Street, which is more sort of in the middle of the street. And again, similar use of materials on this house, just different colors. Again, what I didn't point out was every house has a detached garage and a covered breezeway to it. This house has casement windows, I believe. And we're playing with, you can't see it as much here, but I'll show it to you in the elevations. This house has some asymmetrical roof lines happening. Here you can see it on the roof of the garage. And then it actually is back here on, actually not on that, on this end here.
Just to jump in for a second, just for context. I do like the fact that you went in a different direction. We have a directive from the Secretary of Interior and our status as a historic district not to replicate existing old historic homes. So this is refreshing to see this. I have some questions. As far as planning and zoning is concerned, I guess you'd call it the north side do you have approvals, or you have pending approvals the way that these properties are laid out on that north side? That one entry on Marsden going to the north.
Mr. Chairman, that common access was as condition of the planning board subdivision approval.
I just want to be clear so everybody knows for context what's going on here.
Yeah, that was the approval was conditioned on the creation of that single access for these 4 lots.
Right.
You may recall at our previous appearance, there was a bit of discussion about alternatives to this. And I even made an overture to the board and its attorney about perhaps going back to the planning board to see if they would amend that condition to allow us to have individual driveways. Eventually, your attorney told me that was not worth pursuing.
Honestly, I like it. I just want to make sure our board members are aware of everything that's out there in zoning and planning. This is sort of the layout that they're leaning towards, correct?
This subdivision has been approved for many, many years.
Okay.
I mean, this approval goes back to 1985, I believe.
We haven't seen this in quite some time, so I just want, we have new
That's all
members
right.
coming to make sure everybody's up to speed.
We did vet this issue. It was a condition of planning board approval way back when. And it's a very common condition to have a common driveways for new lots.
I do like it a lot. Okay, great. Please continue.
So while I'm back here on the site plan, just to show you, so yes, the driveways for 7 Marsden and 15 Marsden come off of this common driveway. Okay. And then this is a rendering. Oops, so sorry. Sorry. This is a rendering showing looking at the streetscape from the other side. So looking back up to Division Street. One of the other features that I'd like to point out is that we are putting in a sidewalk on the north side with, I guess, the original kind of granite curbing that is used in the village or you see around the village. So this is that curbing, and here's a sidewalk, a walking sidewalk that you could come up, and it wraps around, and it will wrap around onto Division Street. That's for the north side. Okay. And then just to start pointing out some features of each of these houses. For 15 Marsden, as I mentioned, we're working with a curve, and we're working with this area over here around the corner where Marsden and Division come together. And what we're doing is creating a series of step terraced walls in order to provide planting to screen this side of the house. And then working with this curved wall, we've created a layout which allows you to have sort of this, it's a little more contemporary, sort of an angled wing off of the main part of the house. Sidewalk allows you to have a path right up to the front entrance. This is the front covered entrance over here. As you come in, you have the living, dining, and kitchen spaces here with a covered porch out in the back. And then there's a wing here which has a den and then a guest master suite on the main level. To the left here, you have the covered breezeway that takes you to the garage.
If I may add a comment here, Anita's being too modest. This lot is the most challenging topographically and also for adjacency to the activity from the school. And I was very pleased that she was able to think outside the box and come up with this curved wing to negotiate both of those conditions.
I think it also adds and helps to make the house appearance feel a little more compact and less spread out to have that as well.
So can we break into this into pieces a bit? I just want to run through the board members just quickly on massing and just get the temperature of the board at the moment. Actually, let's start with Zach. Zach, this being adjacent to the historic, this is, I guess, in the historic district. How do you feel about this this application? Zach?
I think he's gone.
We've lost Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the massing. Val Florio, how do you feel about the sizes of these houses?
Well, I think the lot coverage, I'll say this, they might be code compliant, but there's something that seems a little disproportionate just in terms of 6,000 square foot houses, you know, relative to, let's say, for example, the house on the corner, 268 that we looked at, you know, the scale is much different, but let me ask the applicant a question. Do these houses have full basements?
Yes.
They do, okay. All right. So in theory, each one would be close to 9,000 square feet finished habitable space.
No, there may be some finished space in the basement, but a good
Right.
deal of it will be devoted to storage and mechanical.
All right. Well, I think the massing, you know, the height feels okay. I think that the look, each house has a lot of glass. And I know the previous board had asked you to go in a more contemporary direction, but that they seem a little bit foreign in terms of the look, which is probably a good thing in terms of not confusing them as historic houses. But I'm used to seeing in the village lots of wood, whether it be shingle or clapboard or vertical material. And I find that, you know, it's such a departure in terms of the architectural look that I need to just give it some more thought. But, you know, it's a nice presentation. My first reaction is that the houses are a little bit big and they're also a little bit too modern looking. And I'll leave it at that.
Bethany, the massing of these houses, the square footage, the
Yeah,
size, and how they relate to the rest of Marsden.
Yeah,
and the
no,
village.
I agree. I agree with that, they seem, I know that they're allowed, you know, the size of the land compared to the size of the house, but I don't really like them being so large. They don't go along with the streetscape of the street or that area of Sag Harbor.
Steve Williams. Steve.
I'm sorry, I heard you. Mr. Torenzo, first of all, excuse me?
It's Trunzo, thank you.
Torenzo. My first comment is, I'm glad we're recording this session because I loved your compliment to the board. That being said, I think that So it's hard to see from the renderings, you know, in terms of what the true scale of these houses are and the massing. I'd be more comfortable looking at some drawings, some elevations, that sort of thing, that were done to scale. I just am concerned, and I think that we all kind of are, that these are just tremendous houses. And my comment to you was last time, rather than spec build, why don't you think about designing houses to your purchasers, designing and then building houses to your purchasers' desires or requirements. So I'm going to say that again. I just think you're trying to do a lot here, but that's the end of my comment.
Judith?
I find the number 6,000 square feet overwhelming. Just the thought of something that large in Sag Harbor. I don't think there are any houses in Sag Harbor that are 6,000 square feet. And in that neighborhood, particularly, as Val pointed out, the farmhouse we were just looking at up on the corner, they don't go together. And I know that they're allowed to make something that large, but I'm wondering if there's some way to compromise and I don't know, reduce the scale or make them seem less overwhelming.
Bob Adams?
I go along with you on that because 6,000 plus whatever the basements are going to be, saying they're not going to be, they'll make for like the switchgear and things like that. It still can be, I'd say, extremely large. I think too large.
Bethany?
I already spoke, but I agree. Everything, to me, they're too large, too massive.
So I appreciate the fact that we've left that contrived original design with the lamppost and all that stuff. It looks like you've took a lot of our comments and came up with something completely different. And I think it's in the right direction. As far as the massing is concerned, that's why I went with the board, because that is a major issue here in the village with being contextual. You have to, it would be really interesting to know what your neighboring houses are, what the square footage is of the neighboring houses on Marsden are and the surrounding area, to bring this argument to us regarding the size. These houses are very large. The massing is huge. And just because the zoning says something, you can build X amount of square footage on a property, we look at the streetscape and what are the neighboring houses and what are their sizes and how that all works with the neighborhood and the village. So that is a very important comment. And I think you've heard that reflected in every member here tonight. So that being said, I do like the direction you're going in. I like the access of all the houses and the change in design. Val made some material comments that I think were very important. I totally agree with. So I'd love to hear your feedback.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as I've said, and I said in our first appearance, these are relatively large lots for Sag Harbor. I mean, they range from 3/4 of an acre up to almost 9/10 of an acre. So they are relatively large lots for Sag Harbor. You know, earlier in the meeting tonight, the board was fine with 3,000 square foot houses on 1/3 of an acre. Well, the ratio of these houses to their lot area it's better than 2 to 1. You know, the lot area exceeds the size of the houses by better than 2 to 1. And as you've already pointed out yourself, we do comply with the GFA rules in the zoning. And I participated in those hearings before the village board. And they were very thoughtful and listened to what people had to say and struck the balance they thought was appropriate.
So my comment is, when we look at projects, we're looking at what the neighboring properties, what their GFA is.
But I don't really have neighbors. Dr. Oppenheimer is the only other house on this street. Originally, the Grimm house on the corner was on Division Street, faced Division Street, as you know. And all of these houses are well away from both of those two houses.
It'd be interesting to know what that house is on the, I guess that would be the southwest side of your property, and then also the one on the corner of Madison. It'd be nice to know what some of your neighboring square footages are. And so we can, and the one on 268, if we could have that, we could have an area map so we could have some relative scale.
But I don't think that's really relevant, since none of those houses are adjacent to me.
Well, this is also part of the village, and there is a sense of this village in the sizes of homes, and these are rather large. And I'm not the only one here saying that. There's sort of a concern about the size and the massings of these houses, and we were giving you, this is a discussion, we're giving you our feedback.
I hear what you're saying. I'll give that a good deal of consideration. You know, in my world, if you will, as a builder in the Hamptons, the size of these houses is not large. Most of the houses I've built are larger than these. Some of them extremely much larger than these. And I don't think size alone is the criteria. I agree these houses need to fit into the properties that they sit on, and I think they need to integrate into the neighborhood that they are part of. But that can be done without having to reduce their sizes.
Well, I guess my comment is I'd love to know what the neighboring side, I think there's some pertinent information to know what's going on around you. And I think some of the comments that were made would help integrate these designs more cohesively with Sag Harbor and the neighboring homes around it. And that's what we're looking at, how this works with the streetscape, the village as a whole. And you don't really see developments like this in Sag Harbor. So it's kind of, I think it's thrown us a little bit of a curveball. And volume is I think you've heard it 5 or 6 times here tonight from the members that this is sort of a bit of an issue. So I think in your defense of these designs, I think it would be nice to know contextually what your homes in the neighboring area are reflecting square footage wise.
Okay, we'll endeavor to find that out, but again, I don't really see that as directly relevant. I mean, these houses are by themselves pretty much on Marsden Street. So the context is going to be each other rather than houses on Madison or other houses on Division.
I think by the volume alone, it feels like this subdivision could be anywhere. I think they're nicely designed, but I think what's throwing us off is the size of these homes. So if they were smaller, they would contextually fit better as a component of Sag Harbor. And I'm just regurgitating what the board has said already. So if you could take a look at that, and I threw you a bone here to maybe find out some square footage homes that are around you and help us. And we've all said this is a lot to take in. So I think we have a lot to digest here.
Okay, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the board last summer approved a new home on Madison Street. And I took great interest in that application because that home was on a lot that is very similar in size to my lots. It was a vacant lot. And the house on that lot was very close to the size of these houses. So the board has seen fit to approve relatively larger homes on an appropriately sized lot and not too distant from this location.
So that information would be, I think, pertinent regarding this this application to know. We have asked in the past for, area area surveys to let us know exactly what's going on. So when we go drive around and we investigate the streetscapes and how this is going to be integrated into the community, how it fits in relatively to everything else. So
Okay, we understand the board's concern, and we'll give it some thought and try to come back with some information.
that would be very helpful. And that house you referenced on Madison Street would be great. Hey, this is an 8,000 square foot thing you approved, and then at least we can start to work together on coming to a resolution.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I don't want to challenge the presenter. I think that the house on Madison Street contextually was closer in size to its neighbors than this presentation. And there's a lot less density in Madison Street because the lots are larger. Around the corner from this land, the houses are close together. They're smaller. There's separation. This is a very different look. It's very much more suburban than it is village. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to say. Maybe he wants to look at increasing the number, reducing lot size, increasing the lot count, and making these street more intimate. But that's the end of my comments.
Any other comments from the board?
I liked Val's comment about shingles and clapboarding and that sort of thing being typical of Sag Harbor, and perhaps some material changes could make the houses feel a little cozier. I don't know.
Well, I think to speak to that comment, Judith, the house that's up on the corner, it's number 15, which is this one we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
It has the Hardy panel, and I think just in context, I know that I wasn't part of the board when, it was when comments were given, but I think that this is, sort of a one-off. This is a historic district. It's not, a sort of off the beaten path, if you will. Main Street, Madison Street, Division Street are three of the primary lanes in this village. And, if this house, for example, were in a wood texture, I think in terms of the context, it fits in the village. Right now, it doesn't harmonize with what I think, to Mr. Williams' point, that we have cute little houses side by side. And, yes, to Mr. Tronzo's point, 6,000 feet, it's all relative. The word big is a relative term. And maybe it's not a large house for south of the highway, but this is in a historic village where I think the median home size is averaging closer to 3,000 square feet. It might be allowed by code, but I think the New York State guidelines for this are such that we look at things in terms of if it's harmonious. And I just think that the textures could help it. This has a lot of glass on the front to the point where, it's just a little bit, I think, too fast forward. And that's just a personal observation. But the other houses, if you go closer, like the farmhouse has textures and material that I think are more consistent with the village. And I think even number 7 is also likewise, you know, this is a softer look. And I think that you can successfully, you know, integrate something like this into the landscape. But, you know, the one closer to the high school looks like an extension, you know, of a more contemporary look that you would find in a commercial building. And I think that that's what we have to be careful with.
So Mr. Trunzo, I think we're saying the board members keep repeating the same thing as size, material, but I think regarding your last submission, I think we're going in a direction that is positive. I think you can, the takeaway here is material and massing and working with sort of the context of the adjacent area. And I think it would really be important to us to know what the neighboring houses in this neighborhood, what their square footages are. And I think this is a good meeting. Hopefully the feedback has been helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With that, I will I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting of January 14th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.